The morning light spilled through the orphanage's thin curtains, gilding the chipped walls in gold. Haerin sat at the foot of her narrow bed, counting the faint sound of children's laughter outside. It was her 21st birthday, though no one knew, not even Sister Mina, the caretaker who had raised her. Birthdays had always been quiet days, marked by an extra bowl of soup or a smile. But this year felt different. Haerin had saved for months to buy herself a gift, a small DNA ancestry kit. A silly trend online, she thought, but maybe it would tell her something about where she came from. She had always felt like a ghost searching for her reflection. When the email arrived a week later, she almost deleted it, assuming it was another ad. But the subject line froze her heart. Potential family match detected, Kang Group Registry. Her fingers trembled as she clicked. The report unfolded in slow, cruel detail, a 99.98% genetic match to Kang Seojin and Haerin, the power couple behind the Kang Group, a multinational empire known for tech, real estate, and their glittering social life. Haerin laughed at first, a bitter sound. The Kang family had a daughter, Kang Haerin, who had gone missing as a baby 21 years ago. Everyone in Seoul remembered that tragedy. There had been endless headlines, ransom rumors, and a tearful funeral even though no body was ever found. It couldn't be true. And yet, deep down, something in her blood pulsed with recognition. Days later, she stood at the edge of the Kang mansion's gate, clutching the printed report. Security guards watched her with polite suspicion. Her thrift store dress looked absurd against the marble driveway and the glint of imported cars. "I need to see Mrs. Haerin," she said, her voice small but steady. "Tell her, it's about her daughter." They didn't believe her. Not until she mentioned the DNA result. An hour later, the grand double doors opened, and Haerin appeared, poised, elegant, her face pale as porcelain. The older woman's eyes widened as she looked at Haerin. A tremor passed through her, followed by disbelief, then something like hope. "It can't be," she whispered. "My Haerin is gone." "I'm not sure who I am," Haerin said softly. "But the test says you're my mother." Haerin reached out, her hands trembling, almost touching Haerin's cheek before pulling back. "If this is a cruel trick," she said, voice quivering, "I'll destroy you." Haerin swallowed. "Then I guess we'll both find out the truth together." Behind them, a man's voice cut through the air, calm, deep, and dangerous. Kang Seojin had arrived. His sharp gaze flicked from the report in her hand to his wife's tearful face. "Who sent you?" he asked. "Who paid you to dig up our past?" "I don't want your money," Haerin said. "I just want to know why you left me." Silence fell. The air between them was thick with 21 years of grief and secrets. Haerin finally spoke, her voice cracking. "Because someone wanted you dead." Haerin hadn't realized how loud silence could be until she entered the Kang estate. Every marble corridor seemed to hum with restrained wealth, the faint tick of the grandfather clock echoing like a warning. Haerin had insisted she move in, against her husband's wishes. "It's temporary," she said, though her trembling hands betrayed something deeper, almost desperate. The family would verify everything discreetly, she promised, but Haerin could already sense the tension curling in every glance. Servants bowed but avoided her eyes. Their whispers floated like ghosts through the hallways. "Is it really her? The lost daughter? Poor Madame Haerin, she's gone mad again." Her room was larger than the entire dormitory she'd grown up in. Soft cream walls, a chandelier dripping with glass teardrops, and sheets that smelled like rain. But as she ran her fingers over the carved oak desk, a strange feeling rose in her chest, something between déjà vu and dread. That night, as she unpacked her few belongings, a knock came at the door. A girl stood there, dressed in an ivory silk dress that seemed to shine under the hall light. She looked Haerin up and down with cool amusement. "So it's true," she said. "The orphan girl really came home." Haerin straightened. You must be Kang Yoonji, the girl interrupted. Your younger sister. Or I was, until you appeared out of nowhere. Yoonji smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Don't take it personally, Unnie. I'm just not convinced this fairy tale has a happy ending. Haerin opened her mouth to reply, but Yoonji was already gone, her perfume lingering like poisoned sugar. At breakfast the next morning, the Kang family gathered around a table that could seat 20. Haerin tried to keep the conversation light, asking Haerin about her life at the orphanage, her studies, her dreams. Haerin answered politely, though she noticed how Kang Seojin barely looked at her, his jaw clenched as if he were biting backwards. Across from her, Yoonji scrolled on her phone, her nails tapping like distant gunfire. Halfway through the meal, Seojin finally spoke. Until we have proof, I expect no press, no photographs. If this gets out before I'm certain, the board will eat us alive. I'm not here for publicity, Haerin said quietly. Then what are you here for? He snapped. To know why I was abandoned. The words hung heavy between them. Haerin flinched, her fork clattering against porcelain. Later that day, Haerin wandered through the estate's library, a grand room lined with first editions and dust that smelled like old secrets. On a high shelf, she found a photo album labeled Haerin. Her name, or the name that had been hers once. Inside were glossy pictures, a smiling infant in white lace, a family framed in soft sunlight. But near the end, several pages were torn out. Someone had ripped them carefully, leaving behind faint impressions of what used to be there. A faint creak behind her. Haerin turned, but saw only the shadow of a maid retreating. She slipped the album under her arm. That night, she couldn't sleep. The mansion was too quiet, too watchful. Around midnight, a soft noise came from the hallway, a shuffling, a whisper, the creak of footsteps that stopped right outside her door. Who's there? She called. No answer. Only silence, then the faint click of a key turning in her lock. Haerin lunged toward the door, but whoever it was had already gone. On the floor lay a small folded note, slipped under the crack. Her hands trembled as she opened it. You were supposed to stay dead. Her pulse hammered in her throat. For the first time since coming home, Haerin realized the truth. She hadn't just found her family. She had walked straight into the enemy's den. The note burned in Haerin's hand long after she'd read it. She locked her door, her mind racing through every face she'd seen since her arrival, the cold stare of her father, Yoonji's syrupy smile, the servants who whispered when they thought she couldn't hear. Someone didn't just want her unwelcome. Someone wanted her gone. At breakfast the next morning, Haerin pretended nothing had happened. Haerin's eyes looked tired, red around the edges, as though she hadn't slept either. Seojin wasn't there, off to a meeting, according to the staff. Yoonji was sitting across from her with a perfect smile and perfect posture. You look pale, Unnie, Yoonji said sweetly, cutting into her fruit. Homesick already? I'm not sure this is home yet, Haerin replied. Oh, it's home for me, Yoonji said, dabbing her lips with a napkin. I grew up here. I belong here. You, well, we'll see. Her words stung, but Haerin didn't answer. Instead, she watched the maids bustle quietly around the table. One of them, a woman named Ji-won, avoided her gaze entirely. Haerin remembered the shadow she'd seen last night outside her door. Same height. Same quiet footsteps. Later, Haerin found her in the back garden, pruning roses under the grey morning light. You left something by my door, she said softly. Ji-won froze, the shears trembling in her hand. I don't know what you mean, Miss Haerin. Don't lie, Haerin whispered. Who told you to warn me? For a long moment, only the rustle of leaves answered. Then Ji-won's voice broke. I can't. They'll hear me. Who? But Ji-won's gaze darted toward the security cameras fixed on the garden walls. She shook her head and hurried away. That evening, Haerin called Haerin into her private dressing room. The scent of jasmine and old perfume filled the air, mingling with the rustle of expensive silk gowns hanging in neat, color-coded rows. "I thought you might like this," Haerin said, holding out a delicate ivory hanbok embroidered with silver cranes. "It was meant for your first birthday." Haerin traced the embroidery with her fingers, her throat tightening. "You kept it." "I kept everything," Haerin murmured. "Your nursery, your toys, even your footprints in a frame. Your father wanted to erase it all after you disappeared. But I couldn't." Haerin hesitated. "What really happened that night, Mother?" The word mother felt strange on her tongue, fragile and heavy all at once. Yura's hand stilled. "You were taken from your crib while we slept. No ransom note. No demands. Just gone. The police said it was a kidnapping gone wrong, but," she broke off, swallowing hard. "I always believed someone in this house helped them. Someone here." Her mother nodded, eyes glistening. "Our world is full of enemies, Haerin. Money attracts both loyalty and greed." Haerin looked around the room, the silk gowns, the mirrors, the faint outline of sorrow that lived in every corner. "If someone here wanted me gone once," she said quietly, "they might still want it now." Before Yura could reply, the door burst open. Kang Seojin stood there, his expression thunderous. "Enough," he said. "You're filling her head with nonsense. She deserves to know the truth," Yura shot back. "The truth?" Seojin's gaze burned into Haerin. "The truth is that your so-called DNA match could ruin this family. Do you have any idea what kind of scandal this could cause? The investors, the media." "I didn't ask to be born into your empire," Haerin snapped. "All I want is the truth about who I am." For a moment, father and daughter faced each other, two strangers bound by blood and mistrust. Seojin's voice dropped, cold and quiet. "Then stop digging before someone buries you in it." He left, slamming the door behind him. Haerin stood there, shaking, her heart pounding. Then her gaze fell on a loose corner of fabric draped over a mannequin beside the mirror. She pulled it aside, and froze. Hidden beneath the silk was a small box, sealed with dust. Inside lay a child's silver bracelet engraved with the initials KA and a newspaper clipping, yellowed with age. "Police investigate missing Kang, possible inside job." The date was the night she disappeared. And the photograph printed beneath the headline showed her mother, pale and distraught, standing beside a woman Haerin had just seen that morning in the garden. G1. The silver bracelet felt heavier than it should have. Haerin turned it over and over in her palm, tracing the faint engraving, KA, the proof of a life erased. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears as she stared at the newspaper clipping again. The grainy photo of G1 standing beside her mother, years younger but unmistakable, set her nerves on edge. The woman who'd warned her, who'd feared to speak, had been here all along. That evening, when the rest of the family gathered for dinner, Haerin slipped away to the servants' quarters. The air smelled of detergent and metal polish, a sharp contrast to the perfume and marble upstairs. G1's small room was neat to the point of obsession, everything folded, labeled, hidden. But not hidden enough. On the desk sat an old photo frame face down. Haerin turned it over. It showed a younger G1 in a maid's uniform, holding a baby, her. The smile on G1's face was tender, almost maternal. The door creaked. "Miss Haerin," G1's voice came from behind her, calm but trembling. "You shouldn't be here." Haerin set the frame down. "You were there the night I disappeared." G1's lips parted, then closed again. "Please, you don't understand." "Then help me understand," Haerin said, stepping closer. "Who took me? Why?" The maid's eyes darted to the doorway, then to the ceiling camera. "Not here," she whispered. "There are ears in every wall of this house. Meet me tonight." The old greenhouse. Midnight. The mansion was asleep by the time Haerin slipped through the hallways. She wore a dark sweater, her bare feet silent against the marble floors. The security lights bathed everything in a sterile white glow. The old greenhouse stood at the far edge of the property, half swallowed by ivy and neglect. Inside, the air smelled of damp earth and wilted petals. Ji-won waited there, her figure ghostly in the glassy moonlight. "I never meant to hurt you," she said before Haerin could speak. "Back then, I was your nanny. You were barely a year old." Haerin's chest tightened. "Then why did you let them take me?" Tears glimmered in Ji-won's eyes. "Because I thought I was saving you." Haerin frowned. "From what?" "From your father." The words hit like cold water. Ji-won continued, her voice breaking. "There was a deal gone wrong, something about company shares, inheritance. I overheard them fighting. Your mother wanted to put everything in your name. Your father didn't. That night, someone came to the house, men in black suits. I hid you in the laundry cart. But when I returned, the crib was empty, and the house was chaos. Your father said you'd been kidnapped." Haerin's stomach twisted. "Are you saying he lied?" Ji-won looked away. "All I know is that I was dismissed the next morning and paid to keep silent. But I couldn't let you die, Haerin. I found you days later, left in an alley near the orphanage. I brought you there and made sure you were safe." Haerin's voice shook. "You're saying my father wanted me gone?" "I can't prove it," Ji-won whispered. "But if you stay here, you'll find out the truth, or it will find you first." A sound interrupted them, the snap of a twig. Ji-won froze. The two women turned toward the door. For a split second, Haerin saw a figure outside, tall, suited, holding something that gleamed faintly in the light. "Run," Ji-won hissed. A second later, the glass behind them shattered. Haerin ducked as shards rained around her, a warning shot embedding itself into the wooden frame. She crawled behind a toppled table, the smell of gunpowder filling the air. Ji-won grabbed her arm, dragging her toward the back exit. They stumbled into the night, hearts pounding. The wind cut through the trees like whispers of the past. When they finally stopped at the edge of the forest, Ji-won pressed the bracelet back into Haerin's palm. "There's a man named Detective Yoon," she said. "He investigated your case 21 years ago before he was forced off it. Find him. He knows the rest." Before Haerin could answer, Ji-won shoved her toward the main road. "Go." "What about you?" Ji-won smiled faintly. "Some ghosts can't run." Haerin turned once more, but Ji-won was already gone, swallowed by the shadows. From the distance, a single gunshot echoed through the night. The world outside the Kang estate felt both unfamiliar and freeing. For the first time in days, Haerin could breathe without feeling watched. She clutched Ji-won's bracelet in her pocket like a lifeline as she rode the subway through the grey sprawl of Seoul, heading toward the address scribbled on the back of the newspaper clipping. Detective Yoon Sung-ho. Retired. Disciplinary leave. Rumors of bribery. But if Ji-won had trusted him once, Haerin had to try. The building she found was a sagging tenement at the edge of Mapo district, the kind that smelled of fried oil and rain-soaked paper. A rusting sign read, "Private Investigations, Yoon and Company," but the "and Company" had long since peeled away. She knocked. A gravelly voice answered, "If you're selling insurance, I already regret being alive." Haerin stepped inside. The office was dim, cluttered with case files and the stale scent of cigarettes. Behind the desk sat a man in his late 50s, rumpled shirt, grey stubble, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. "I'm not selling anything," she said. "My name is Haerin. Kang Haerin." The detective froze. The ash from his cigarette fell onto a stack of papers. Say that again. She placed the bracelet on his desk. You investigated my disappearance 21 years ago. For a long moment, Yoon said nothing. Then he exhaled a low whistle. Well, I'll be damned. He rummaged through a drawer, pulling out an old folder tied with red string. The paper inside was yellowed, the ink faded but still legible. Across the top, case file number 2047, missing infant, Kang Haerin. I was lead investigator, Yoon said. Until the case vanished, just like you. One day the reports were gone, my badge was suspended, and the Kangs donated a shiny new police wing downtown. Make of that what you will. Haerin's pulse quickened. You think my father silenced the investigation? I don't think. I know. He tapped the folder. I traced the ransom calls, the financial transfers, the witnesses who disappeared. But every lead died the moment I got close. Someone high up paid to bury the truth. And your father had the deepest pockets. Haerin's throat went dry. G1 said he wanted me gone. Why? Yoon leaned back, eyes narrowing. It wasn't about you. It was about control. Your mother wanted the Kang fortune split between her children equally, a scandalous thing in a dynasty like that. But your father, he wanted a clean line of inheritance, no interference. Then the board found out your mother had secretly registered company shares in your name. Haerin stared. As a baby. He nodded. On paper, you were already part owner of Kang Group. That's why you became a liability. The room seemed to tilt. He would rather kill his daughter than share control. Yoon's voice softened. You don't get that rich without getting your hands bloody somewhere along the way. Haerin's eyes burned. And my mother. She filed missing person reports, hired private investigators, pleaded with the press. But the day your father announced your death, she stopped. I think he made her choose, her husband's empire, or the truth. Yoon stood, rummaging through another drawer, and handed her a USB drive. Every copy of this case was destroyed. Except mine. Inside you'll find the list of phone records, payment routes, and a photograph, the man who delivered the ransom message. He worked for your father's security division back then. Haerin clenched the drive. If I expose this. He cut her off. You won't survive long enough to. The Kangs control everything, media, police, courts. But if you want justice, you'll need to play their game. Quietly. Before Haerin could reply, the building lights flickered. A shadow moved outside the frosted glass door, slow, deliberate. Yoon's instincts kicked in, he grabbed Haerin's arm and pulled her behind the desk. The door burst open, a gust of wind carrying in the scent of rain, and two men in black suits. Mr. Yoon, one of them said, voice flat. You've been warned to stop digging. Yoon's hand found the revolver in his drawer, but the men were faster. One swing of a baton and he went down hard. Haerin tried to scream, but another hand clamped over her mouth. Message from Chairman Kang, the man whispered. Stay dead, or he'll make sure you are this time. Then, silence. A punch, a flash of pain, and darkness swallowed her. When Haerin awoke, Yoon was gone. The office was wrecked, papers scattered like broken memories. Only the USB drive remained, clenched in her blood-stained fist. And in the shattered windowpane, her reflection stared back at her, no longer the lost orphan, but something harder. Someone ready to fight back. Rain clung to Seoul like a veil, washing the neon lights into rivers of color that bled across the streets. Haerin moved through the city with the USB drive tucked in her coat pocket, the last proof of everything she'd lost, and the weapon that could finally bring the truth to light. She had nowhere safe to go. After the attack on Detective Yoon's office, she'd vanished into the noise of the city, changing motels every night, paying in cash, watching every shadow. Yoon had vanished completely. Whether he was hiding, or silenced, she didn't know. But she did know one thing, she couldn't run anymore. When dawn came, she walked into an internet cafe, logged into an encrypted account, and opened the files on the drive. Hundreds of scanned documents appeared, bank transfers, police records, photographs. And in one folder, labeled K Project, she found something that made her blood run cold. A scanned memo, dated 21 years ago, signed by Kang Seo-jin himself. Operation concluded. The asset has been relocated. Witnesses compensated or removed. The asset was her. Haerin's fingers trembled as she scrolled further. There were payment records to an unnamed security contractor, the same one Yoon had mentioned. One name appeared repeatedly, Park Min-ho, former head of Kang Group Security. She remembered him vaguely from the estate, a quiet man in his 40s with eyes that never smiled. He'd served her father for decades. If she could find him, maybe she could prove everything. That afternoon, Haerin did something reckless. She went back to the Kang Tower, the gleaming glass skyscraper that loomed over the city like a monument to greed. She wore a cap, oversized coat, and mask, but her heart still hammered as she entered the lobby. Cameras watched from every angle. Her reflection followed her in every pane of glass. She didn't have a plan, not really. Just anger. Just need. She walked to the reception desk and said, "Tell Chairman Kang I have something that belongs to him." The woman blinked. "May I ask your name?" "Tell him it's the daughter he buried." For a moment, silence stretched between them like glass about to shatter. Then the receptionist pressed a button under the desk. 2 security guards appeared, but not to arrest her. They escorted her to the top floor. The elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened, Kang Seo-jin stood by the window, framed by the storm rolling over the skyline. He didn't turn as she approached. "I should have known you wouldn't stay quiet." Haerin's voice was low but steady. "You tried to kill me once. Why stop now?" "Because you're still useful," he said. "You've caused whispers already, reporters sniffing around, shareholders asking questions. But if you cooperate, we can make this disappear. You'll have money, a title, a place. Isn't that what you wanted?" She pulled the USB from her pocket and held it up. "You mean this? The one that proves you paid men to make your daughter vanish?" Finally, he faced her. His eyes were sharp, void of remorse. "You think that changes anything? Truth doesn't matter, Haerin. Control does. You expose me, and this city will eat you alive first." Haerin met his gaze. Then let it choke. For a moment, they stood there, father and daughter, predator and prey, mirror images of defiance. He smiled faintly. "You have your mother's fire. I almost regret what I did." Haerin stepped closer. "You'll regret it when the world sees what you are." Seo-jin's calm never wavered. "You forget, my child. I built this world. And I can burn it down with you inside it." That night, Haerin contacted a journalist from Seoul Daily, an investigative reporter known for tackling corporate corruption, Lee Hyun-woo. She sent him a few encrypted files as proof. His reply came within minutes. "Meet me tomorrow. Park Min-ho contacted me once before. He said he had something about the Kangs, then disappeared." Haerin stared at the message until the words blurred. Ji-won gone. Yoon missing. Park Min-ho vanished. And she was next on the list. She switched off the phone, heart pounding, whispering to herself the words that had become her armor. "You can take back my bloodline, but not my soul." Outside, lightning tore the sky in half, and somewhere deep in the city, a message pinged on Kang Seo-jin's private server. Subject: The heiress has gone public. The sun rose behind a wall of storm clouds, painting the Seoul skyline in bruised gray. For Haerin, it didn't feel like morning, it felt like Judgment Day. She sat in a small cafe overlooking the Han River, a black coffee cooling untouched beside her. Across the table, journalist Lee Hyun-woo watched her closely, his recorder lying between them like a weapon. "Once I release this," he said quietly, "there's no turning back. The Kang group will retaliate, legally, politically, maybe even physically. You understand that?" Haerin nodded. "I've already lost everything once. I'm not afraid to lose it again." Hyun-woo clicked record. "Then start from the beginning." She told him everything. The orphanage. The DNA test. Ji-won's warning. The files from Detective Yoon. Her father's confession hidden in boardroom words and bloodless orders. As she spoke, her voice trembled, but her eyes stayed sharp. When she finished, Hyun-woo sat back, silent for a long moment. Then he said, "People won't believe it at first. The Kang name is practically holy. But this," he gestured to the USB drive, "this will break that illusion." Haerin exhaled shakily. "Then let it break." By evening, the story was everywhere. Breaking news, heiress returns, Kang group under criminal investigation. Exclusive, secret files reveal cover-up in infant disappearance case. The media erupted. TV anchors stammered through revelations that seemed impossible: embezzlement, evidence tampering, witness bribery. Haerin's name trended across every platform, her face splashed beside the words, "The Forgotten Daughter." Inside the Kang mansion, chaos reigned. Han Yura watched the news from her dressing room, trembling, tears streaking through her foundation. For 21 years, she had swallowed her husband's lies to survive, now they were choking her. When Seo-jin stormed into the room, she didn't look away from the screen. "You did this," he snarled. "You and that girl." "She's our daughter," Yura whispered. "The one you tried to erase." "She's a traitor." "No," Yura said, turning to face him. "She's the only honest thing left in this house." For the first time, Seo-jin looked shaken. "You think you'll survive this? The board will destroy you. They already froze our accounts. Then maybe we deserve it." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a hiss. "You think this ends with a few headlines? I built this empire from the dirt. You think one girl can tear it down?" "She doesn't have to," Yura said softly. "You've been doing it yourself for years." Meanwhile, Haerin hid in a safe house arranged by Hyunwoo's team. The floor was bare concrete, the walls humming with the faint buzz of power lines. Outside, police sirens wailed, not for her, but for the world collapsing above her name. Her phone buzzed. A private number. She hesitated, then answered. "Haerin," came her mother's voice, fragile, shaking. "You have to leave the country. Your father, he's desperate. The things he's done." "Mother, I'm not running again. Please, listen to me. He's lost everything. That makes him dangerous." Haerin's throat tightened. "Come with me, then. Start over." Silence. Then, through the static, "Some debts can only be paid here." The line went dead. That night, the Kang mansion went dark. The police arrived an hour later. Inside, they found Chairman Kang Seo-jin in his study, the gun still warm in his hand, the Empire's final decision written across the desk in neat, decisive ink. "To my daughter, I gave you everything, even the truth. May it destroy you as it did me." Haerin stood outside the estate gates when they told her. She didn't cry. The wind carried the sound of the city's traffic, the murmurs of reporters, the faint flash of cameras. All she felt was a strange stillness, the kind that comes when a wound finally closes, leaving a scar that will never fade. Han Yura emerged from the house hours later, draped in a black shawl. When she saw Haerin, she hesitated, then took her daughter's hand for the first time in 21 years. You were never the curse he said you were, Yura whispered. You were the consequence. Haerin looked toward the mansion, its windows blank as dead eyes. No, she said softly. I was the truth. Weeks later, Haerin stood on a cliff above the sea, the waves crashing against the rocks below. She scattered the last of the ashes from an old envelope, G1's rosary, the silver bracelet, a piece of the Kang Empire that no longer owned her. The wind caught her hair as she whispered to the horizon. You can take back my bloodline, but not my soul. Then she turned away, walking into the light of a new morning, no longer the orphaned heiress, but the woman who survived her own legend.